We resume our story in Damovod, Moldavia. After snorting in amusement, Bryn started a lesson on combat technique, something Damian had been eagerly waiting for. Punches and kicks are the basics of fighting, something that even someone who has never fought once in their lives knows. Of course, other body parts can be used to inflict damage on your opponent, like elbows and knees, but those need more training to master. Of course, even simple punches and kicks need you to train a lot, to not only avoid injuring your fists, legs, and feet, but also to avoid giving the opponent the chance to turn the tables on you. Shaking her head slightly, her expression turned sterner as she added, "Never forget that no matter how good you think you are, a single mistake can end up with you injured or even dead if the fight you're in is a life and death one. So don't get careless when you fight, even if the opponent seems much weaker than you." Knowing she was right, Damian nodded while saying, "A lion uses all its strength even when hunting a rabbit, right?" With a small nod, Bryn replied, "Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. Lack of skills hurts, but arrogance kills. I've seen my fair share of talented martial artists getting crippled or even dying. Even I came really close a few times during some dangerous fights." Shaking her head, she added, "Anyway, you'll understand once you get more experience. In the meantime, let's get started." After those words left her lips, she brought him to one of the few large punching bags located on one side of the room. Then she started to explain each basic technique while demonstrating the movement herself. She divided each punch and kick into 3 parts: lower body, upper body, and both together, all at slow speed, to make sure he understood the right posture. After all, even the slightest discrepancy could result in wasted power or even self-inflicted injuries. For Damian, her lesson reminded him of some of his old physics classes, where the general principles were relatively easy to understand, but when it came to applying it in the real world, it became impossibly difficult. Indeed, every time she explained a movement and asked him to perform it for her, he felt as if his mind and body were disconnected, making it impossible for what he visualized to translate into the correct posture. Even the simplest straight punch had subtleties he was incapable of mastering fully. Of course, he was quick to reach an average level, enough to avoid injuries. But every time he wanted to improve beyond, his body refused to follow his lead, bringing a surge of frustration to his heart. Seeing the young man's state, Bryn was quick to reassure him. "There's no need to feel frustrated, Dam. Mastery takes time and you've only started training today. There's no such thing as someone becoming a fighting master on their first training day. Actually, I can tell that your understanding is pretty good, but it's your body holding you back. Since that's the case, and with how quickly you've improved since yesterday, it shouldn't take you long to fix that problem." Shaking his head, he replied while wearing a wry smile on his face, "It's just that when I feel like I should be able to do something and I can't, I feel a bit annoyed, you know? But you're right, time is on my side. Just gotta persevere and I'll get the results I want after a while." Hearing his surprisingly mature response, Bryn felt a hint of interest appear in her heart, though outwardly she simply responded with a "that's the spirit," before the two resumed the training. Although the previous workout session did a number on his stamina, with some brief rest and the low intensity Bryn's practice demanded of him, Damian could somehow follow her demands without too much problem. Of course, asking him to go through another high-intensity training would drain him in a matter of minutes. But still, Progress was progress. Time passed by, with Damian cursing his body's lack of flexibility and coordination, the latter not only making it impossible to go beyond an average mastery of basic punches and kicks, but even some techniques, such as high kicks, could not be performed at all, only because he knew he had awakened powers that would help him grow stronger quickly. Was he able to keep his irritation in check? Still, the tall redhead was not too demanding, as she was plainly aware that it was already the best result he could reach. Thus, with a satisfied expression, she declared, "Alright, it's enough for today. I'll make a training regimen that will last you a week. After that, we'll adjust it depending on your progress." Damian, who was drenched in sweat and with his entire body burning from the exertion, replied tiredly, "Sounds great, Bryn. I feel like every muscle and organ in my body is on fire, and walking makes it worse. So I just rest here for a bit." After letting out a few chuckles, Bryn replied, "Suit yourself. I'll be taking a shower first then. Don't worry about lunch, I'll take care of it." As if something came to her mind, she added in a tone that seemed to hint at something, "Oh, and since your appetite has been growing since yesterday, I'll prepare a bigger portion for you." Flinching slightly at the pointed words, Damian had a wry smile on his face as he responded with a simple "thanks a lot," before grabbing the bottle of water and chugging its content down, as if he was about to die from dehydration. After emptying the bottle, the young man let out a sigh of satisfaction before pondering. "Seems like I won't be able to hide my changes much longer. Well, hide might be the wrong word, since they all noticed my increasing appetite and physical improvements. Maybe after a few days I'll talk to them about it." A few minutes later, the burning sensation all over his body had mostly disappeared, leaving only a sense of emptiness, as his energy reserves needed some time to recover. Of course, besides some rest, eating was the best way to get better, and his growling stomach was quick to remind him of that. A quick shower and lavish meal later, the three people separated. Damian went upstairs to start his mind practice of the day with the Mandarin language, while Bryn left for her gym on the other side of the city, since she had her international match a month later and she needed the training. As for Sarah, she went to the penthouse personal gym, stating that she needed to maintain her figure or she would end up fat and ugly. Shaking his head slightly while recalling her excuse, Damian knew it was his own situation that motivated the woman. After all, for one without sight, would appearance really matter? That was, unless the person you were interested in found it important. Shoving that thought to the side, the young man focused instead on the elegant signs displayed on his computer screen. Interestingly, the young man was quick to find a massive difference between the previous day. Indeed, he felt a great improvement, whether it was his memory, brain process, or even logical thinking, making it seem much easier to learn that difficult language. Of course, at this pace, he would still need a year or two to master it to a fluent level, but that was still much quicker than for the average learner. After all, it was not for nothing that Mandarin was known as the most difficult language to learn in the world. A few hours passed by before Damian felt that his brain had reached its limits and was forced to stop. Although his body had recovered to a satisfactory level, it was now his mind's turn to be exhausted, which brought him mixed feelings. Letting out a sigh, he mumbled, "Well, seems like being dead tired will become a constant for the next few months." Despite lacking motivation, Damian still dragged his own body to the gym to start his second daily training session after turning off his computer and changing into a sports outfit. After all, he had already died once, and since he had been lucky enough to have been reincarnated with superpowers with infinite prospects, he would do his best to increase his odds of staying alive. Indeed, the longer he lived and the more he trained, the stronger he would become, with no visible limits to his growth. While implementing Bryn's newly created schedule, something that should have started the following day, Damian's mind wandered about, with the faces of the three Mikhailov women, along with their strange reactions, appearing in his thoughts. Although I'm not related to them, since they've taken care of my previous self for all those years, I'll definitely repay them as much as I can. Who knows, maybe I can even use that soulbone perk. As that dangerous thought traversed his mind, he shook his head and added, "Alright, let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, I need to get stronger. Second, I need to investigate the origin behind my birth. And only then should I consider going ahead with the soul bond. After all, it's a life commitment, so that's not a choice I can make on a whim." As the sun set on the blue sea, visible through the window, golden specks of light reflected on the waves below, with the only noise in the expansive room being the sound of his feet hitting the treadmill rubber mat, along with his heavy breathing. Despite being drenched in sweat and experiencing the now familiar burning sensation in his muscles, Damian felt a strange sense of peace. This life is not so bad.
Well, I saddled up my shoes, headed out at dawn. Yeah, I saddled up my shoes, headed out at dawn. Ain't no place gonna hold me when the road keeps rolling on.